Betsy Mccaughey is a patient advocate, a constitutional scholar, and a former lieutenant governor of New York State. In 1993, she read the 1,362-page Clinton healthcare bill, warned the nation what it said, and made history. Today, she's doing it again, fighting Obamacare. Earlier this year, she released her latest book about the Obama health law, Beating Obamacare. The woman who started it all by reading the bills, Dr. Betsy Mccaughey.
Thank you very much. It's the law, but it won't be for too long. After Benghazi, after the IRS scandal, which is just beginning to unfold, after the revelations about the vast database in Utah, but mostly because of the most recent news about the impact of this law, the Democrats are on the run, and we are about to take back our country. So I've been asked to talk about Obamacare tonight, and I will, but I hope you will also ask me about the immigration bill and some of the other very interesting things that are happening in Washington, because now is the time for all of us, all the strong women in this room with backbone, to stand up for our nation, for our values, and for our great United States Constitution, probably the finest document ever created by the hand of man. Thank you. So, this is the Obama health law. It lowers your standard of care. It puts government in charge of your care. And it takes away something as precious as life itself, your freedom. When you go to file your taxes, you're going to have to attach proof that you were enrolled in what the government mandates to be health insurance. The one-size-fits-all, government-designed health plan. You're going to have to attach proof and provide the name and policy number of your insurer. Now, sending that information to the IRS will shield you from the penalty, but it will surrender your health care to the government. Section 1311 of this law, for the first time in history, puts the federal government in charge of your health care, your doctor's decisions. Even if you're in a private health plan that says Aetna or Cigna or WellCare or Blue Cross Blue Shield, that you paid for yourself out of your own pocket. Despite the fact that you paid for it, the government, specifically Kathleen Sebelius, Secretary of Health and Human Services, the woman who was going to let that little girl die because she needed new lungs, she has the power to dictate how doctors treat privately insured patients. Under this law, insurance companies are not allowed to pay doctors or hospitals unless these doctors and hospitals obey whatever regulations Kathleen Sebelius imposes in the name of quality. Well, that can mean when your cardiologist recommends a stent versus a bypass, when your OBGYN decides to do a cesarean or a sonogram. The Democrats in Washington have been fighting, going to the barricades for decades to prevent the government from accessing a woman's health records or dictating to her doctor. But how can it be that a woman is free to choose an abortion, but not a hip replacement? Right? How can it be that one kind of freedom is so important and all the other medical freedoms are taken away? It doesn't make any sense. Now, the president said that he was going to solve the problem of the uninsured by making health plans more affordable. Well, you've gotten your premium hikes in the mail, right? And much bigger hikes are coming. California last week unveiled its California health insurance exchanges. Premiums are up 51%. Ohio unveiled theirs. Premiums are up 88%. Can you imagine? instead of making health plans more affordable. How did he pay for this plan? This plan expands Medicaid by eviscerating Medicare. That's right. More than half of this health plan is paid for by cuts to senior care. It's robbing grandma to spread the wealth. It's immoral. What will these cuts mean? Well, Medicare is going to have $700 billion less money to spend over the next decade on seniors. The biggest chunk of money is coming out of what hospitals have to spend. Hospitals will have $247 billion less money to spend. What will it mean? Nurses are going to be spread far thinner on the floor. Bigger workloads for each nurse. You've probably already seen it. They're already laying off nurses. And that means for a patient of any age, when you push that button for help, you wait longer. A nurse can only do so much. But in addition to the across-the-board cuts, Section 3000A of this law awards bonus points to the hospitals that spend the least per senior. Think about that. I wouldn't take my beloved dog to the vet that spent the least per animal, but I'm supposed to take my mother to the hospital that spends the least per senior? We have an enormous amount of data to show that the hospitals that are the lowest spending have higher death rates. Seniors are less able to recover from pneumonia, from heart attacks, and from other common ailments of the elderly, and make it home again. Now, in this book that I brought tonight, I really wrote it to walk everybody through the landmines over the next 18 months. So let me give you a few suggestions about what we can do until we get rid of it. Number one, and this has become so much more important because of what we've learned over the last 2 weeks. Talk to your doctor about keeping 2 sets of books. The law says that physicians are supposed to enter your medical history and your treatments into an electronic database. The goal is one national database where each patient has a page. Ever since the law was passed, privacy advocates from the far left, like the New York Civil Liberties Union, all the way to the right, like the Goldwater Institute, have been pressing Kathleen Sebelius to issue regulations to protect our medical privacy. In January, she issued those regulations, and you know what they said? If you want privacy, pay cash. That's what it says in writing in the Federal Register. Very frightening. When the president, in response to the Newtown shooting, issued his 23 executive actions to curb gun violence, 4 of them dealt with intruding into medical privacy. He said medical privacy was, in his words, an unnecessary legal barrier. So now is the time to talk to your doctor, because we all confide things to our doctor we wouldn't tell anybody else. Doctors take the Hippocratic Oath seriously. They're not going to be surprised when you ask. Certain things should not go in that electronic database. Number 2, if you're a baby boomer, line up your doctors now, even if you're healthy. Line up a cardiologist, line up an internist. Because if you wait until you turn 65 and go on Medicare, you will not be able to find a doctor willing to treat you. Under this law, doctors are paid less to care for seniors than any other kind of patient. And hospitals are going to be paid so little that Richard Foster, the chief actuary of Medicare, said that 15% of hospitals will stop accepting Medicare. Where will seniors go when their local hospital stops taking Medicare? Shocking. If you know you have to go into the hospital, be prepared, brace yourself for less care. And if you can, cobble together enough money to hire a private duty nurse, at least for the first night, so you won't have to wait. Am I right? Yeah, that's the sad thing. If you go in for orthopedic surgery, like a knee or a hip, don't expect that they're going to recommend outpatient therapy at Burke or somewhere the way they have in the past. Because when they reward these hospitals for spending the least per senior, they ding a hospital even for recommending care after the patient's discharged. No more rehabs, right? No more return visits to the cardiologist. The hospital gets whacked for that. So those are some of the unfortunate truths about this law. But there's one really exciting truth, and that is that we are going to make 2014, the midterm elections, a referendum on the Obama health law, and we are going to get rid of it. And here's why. This is not Don Quixote. This is not tilting of windmills. This law is more unpopular now, more feared, more hated now than when it was enacted. That's really unprecedented in American history. For a law to be on the books for 2.5 years and for the opposition to it to increase rather than dissipate. And it's because the truth is unfolding. The weasels who wrote this law put all the lollipops up front, like keeping your kids on your plan till they're 26. But now, the truth is unfolding with a vengeance. People who had on-the-job coverage are losing it. People are losing their full-time job status because employers don't want to have to pay for these expensive health plans. Many people are realizing they're not going to be able to see the doctors and hospitals they used before. If you get health insurance on an exchange, you're going to have to drive by that academic hospital and use a hospital that will take much lower payments. Only about 1/3 of the hospitals and doctors are willing to take these new exchange plans because they pay so little. So now when people go to the voting booth in 2014, they will realize what's at stake. And they will pull the lever for somebody who's committed to repealing this bill. And the cards are all stacked in favor of the Republicans taking the United States Senate. There are 33 seats contested at the next election. 33 seats. 13 are safe Republican seats. 20 are currently held by Democrats. But of those 20, 12 are in states that lean Republican. Swing states. We only have to win 6 out of those 12 to take the United States Senate and totally defund this law. And we're going to do it. Yes, we are. Many of the Republicans, many of the Democrats who voted for this law aren't even running again. They're so humiliated. They know they're going to be defeated. They're just going home in retirement, and good riddance to them. It's really wonderful. We're chasing them out of town. The stakes have never been higher. And the reason is this. If you're seriously ill, the best place to be has always been the United States. A woman diagnosed with breast cancer in the United States has over a 90% chance of surviving it. In Europe, her chances are less than 80%. Do the arithmetic, that means she's twice as likely to die. A man diagnosed with prostate cancer in the United States, he's going to survive it. It's not a death sentence here. But in Europe, nearly 1 out of every 4 men diagnosed with prostate cancer dies from it. And if someone in your family has what's currently considered an incurable illness, this is the nation of hope. This is where we've always developed the cures. Since 1950, the United States has won more Nobel Prizes in medicine and physiology than the entire rest of the world combined. And this is why, this is the fight of our lifetimes, and we are about to win it. Thank you.